All right, guys, handstand time. For all you guys asking about handstands, you're in the right place. All right, we're gonna be starting with some wrist warm-ups and shoulder warm-ups. Even though we're pretty warm right now, we wanna make sure we're very warm. A lot of people have troubles with their wrists. When putting weight on a bent wrist, you wanna make sure that that front side of the forearm is very warm. And then we're gonna talk about alignment, and then we're gonna talk about some drills, how to train, and then we're gonna talk about the cambered hand technique, and then we'll go through some actual handstands with Shannon as well. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do, guys, and like I said, we're already a little bit warm, but it's very important that our wrists are warm before getting started here, okay? So we're going to get flat down onto the ground or just a yoga mat, just like we did, tabletop position. And what we're going to do is start making circles, all right? If you're already warm, you can start making larger, more aggressive circles, but if you're just getting started out, these circles can be really small and take as much time as you need. There's no right or wrong here. If that's 2 minutes of circles, that's fine. It's really to where there's no pain when you're putting more weight in the wrist, right? We don't want to push through pain here. We want to stay nice and comfortable. We usually like to do maybe 5 or 10 circles in each direction, and then slowly getting more and more weight into the hands by pushing the ground away and getting less weight in the knees. So the knees could almost be hovering at this point, right? As we're getting more and more weight in those hands. And if you're feeling super comfortable, you can even like get the knees off the ground and start leaning over those hands. All right, take your time though. Like I said, it could be a 2 to 5 minute just circle warm up if you're really cold. If you're really cold, it could be a little bit longer. So then we're gonna put those hands side by side and lean back and forth, rock back and forth here, and same type of thing. We'll get the eye of that elbow facing forward on these ones. You can actually make them face each other and then forward, just like that. Boom, boom. It's really going to be stretching out that forearm and that wrist area. So we'll go back and forth. And as you're getting warmer, press the ground away harder and harder. And as you're pressing the ground away harder, we're going to be increasing that range of motion, really getting those shoulders over the fingertips on each rock here. Like I said, no pain. Should be feeling really nice and comfortable. And then we're gonna put those hands backwards and rock back. Try to keep the palms rooted here and go back as far as you can. We'll keep it nice and dynamic, but once you feel warm enough, you can even do a really far lean back. We'll flip the hands back forward, and now we'll rock just forward over those hands. Try to get it real far as you can, no pain, and get those wrists really nice and open. Now here's the thing, guys. I encourage you to repeat through that entire sequence 2 times, 3 times, 4 times if you need to get a wrist that is very, very warm, okay? If you're feeling good after that, that's fine. It's usually about all I need. But if you've been on the computer all day or it's been cold where you live, go ahead and then start again and do the circles in each direction and then come out side by side and really start to warm up that wrist, okay?
Especially if you haven't been warming up your wrist for a long time, like Xar's been putting 2 years of really steady wrist warm-ups into his routine. Also, you've been upside down a lot of your life, so, but if you're just getting started with this, do take some time to warm up the wrists with, you know, a lot of energy and give yourself some time. You know, it's a progression. Man, words are hard. It's a patient practice to try to get it.
Alright guys, so the next thing, after those wrists are warmed up, we're going to begin to open up the shoulders. Couple different shoulder openers that we enjoy doing, and probably like the #1 place to get started is just to find a wall, put your hands against the wall, walk those feet back, and then really just let the shoulders open on up. Now if you're just getting started, it might look more like this, and you might get kind of stopped here. But after doing this more and more consistently, the shoulders are going to begin to open up more and more and more and more and more, like that. Ideally, we're going to walk in a little bit closer to the wall and get a flat lower back as well. Mine might be a little bit rounded, but we're really trying to open up the shoulder here. You can hang out here for about 30 seconds. You can start with pulses, and then as you get more warm, you can start hanging out at the bottom. And that is great. Once again, just like the wrist warm-up, if your shoulders are naturally open, you might be okay with just 1 set of those. If your wrists or your shoulders are very, very close and cold and tight, You might want to repeat that 2, 3, 4 sets. The goal here is, guys, in a handstand, we need to get those shoulders above the head. They can't stop here. You know, a lot of the times if you try to raise your shoulder and you can only get to here, well, you can't start to learn a handstand until you can get the hands over the head like this, all right, with a tucked glute. So this is shoulder opener number 1, like we just talked about. You can have a split stance if you're not quite flexible enough, or you can have both feet up and really start poking that head through to open up the shoulder. Now, if that's a little bit too tricky, or you want an alternative stretch, you can do that same exact thing on the knees here, on a couch or an elevated surface. And if you want to make it a bit more intense, you can cross the hands together, make a prayer, and then stretch out like this. Once again, you can make pulses, or you can sink down at the bottom once you're a little bit more warm. The goal here is, guys, to have a very nice and open shoulder so you can access full alignment. Alignment is very important in a handstand. 1, to get the straight line, but 2, just to balance easier. Once you have that alignment, when you're doing a dead hang, the shoulder should be directly overhead, not something like this. So I would do so much dead hanging as well. In fact, if you want to do the dead hang warm-up that we do, I would also recommend doing that. Now, one final shoulder opener stretch, if you're a little bit more advanced, that I would recommend, that I like to do personally, and this might be a little tricky if you're just getting started, but what you can do is kick up against the wall, and then you can just press the head through and begin to open up the shoulder. All right, when you're just getting started, that might be one that's more difficult, but it is going to do that same thing of really beginning to work on that straight line between kind of that knee or the hip all the way up through the shoulder in that hand, okay? Now that we've talked about all of that and we're warmed up and our wrists are a little bit more warm and the shoulders a bit more warm, this might not just be one time, this might not be 2 times, this might be a few months of opening up those shoulders, opening up those wrists, all right? Now we can talk about alignment. Now in a handstand, the most popular thing that we see is the butt kind of out like this, like a duck butt, and then we see hands kind of like this, and the chest is being used to balance. This is what we see most people handstand like, and it's kind of like that. The shoulders are depressed and retracted, the glutes are out, and the chest is being used to balance here. Now that's not wrong, you're upside down, but if you want a straight, nice, beautiful handstand, what you're gonna wanna do is, first thing, tuck the hips, meaning you're lunging forward and your glutes are engaged. All right, quads are tight, hip flexors are tight, and the hips are actually engaged and forward here, right? As opposed to this, fully forward. Now, when that's completely forward and straight, you want to keep the tight glutes, tight hips through, all right? And then we want to get the hands above the head. Now, here's the next thing, right? People have the scapula depressed and retracted, whereas on a straight handstand, you want to protract and elevate the shoulders to get that nice straight line. Once again, guys, if your shoulders aren't open enough, it's going to be hard to get past here. So over time, we're going to build up strength in the rear deltoid, protract, elevate, tight glutes, tight hips, and now we have a straight line. All right? Now, what this is going to feel like upside down, it's going to be really weird at first, and that's why we're going to practice up against a wall. So up against a wall, guys, you're going to find a wall, and we're going to try to get as straight as possible up against that wall. So what we're going to do is face away from the wall first and kick up against the wall in a perfectly straight line, and keep all of those cues in mind, all right? So right here, we're going to grab the ground, the wrist should be open. We're going to get the glutes against the wall, and we're going to try to walk in as close to the wall as possible so that our back is almost touching. We're pressing the ground away so our shoulders are elevated, all right? Hips are tucked through. They're going to want to do that. But remember, hips tucked through, toes point, abs engaged, hip flexors engaged. Press the ground away. So it's going to be like this. Once again, we practice against the wall. Hips through, tuck the head, press the ground away, tight glutes, tight core. And then you can get one foot off the wall and then slowly start working both feet off the wall. All right, so we're going to do that for a few sets, back and forth. If you want to do a couple sets back and forth, And we're just gonna try to get that alignment up against the wall as best we can. So Shannon's going now. She has those hands. She's gonna walk them closer and closer to the wall. You get a little closer, babe, if you can. And then, nice job. And she's gonna press the ground away and almost feel like she's lifting herself up with that pointed toe. Tight glutes, quads, hip flexors, that's great. And then we're just gonna hold that. Head is looking through, just like that, tucked, not out like this, how it's gonna naturally wanna go. It's tucked. So that's perfect form, just like that, perfectly straight. And honestly, this right here is gonna be the key to learning a handstand. You're gonna be doing this upside down a lot, okay? So we're coming back up, press the ground away, boom. All right, you might start like this, that's okay, press the ground away, tight glutes, tight core, 1 foot off the wall and just hold. You can hold this for, you know, once or twice a week for a month, and this is all you're practicing right here. And then slowly, 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 you get those feet off the wall, all right? So go back and forth one more time. Shannon's up. We're gonna be really focused on that alignment and that balance, and this just comes with time. The number one thing to learn a handstand too, guys, is the more you're upside down, right? The number one problem people have is they haven't been upside down, all right? Being upside down every day for a month, a year, 2 years, 10 years, a decade, right? That's really how you learn a handstand. You can keep kicking up and down. You know, if you can't go fully against the wall, you can just kick up and down like 10 different tries and then go from there as well, right? So once again, if it's really hard for you to get up against the wall, you can just do little kicks like this and try to get up against the wall. It might take a few tries, right? And then, okay, I got it. Let's walk in close. Let's press the ground away, tuck the hips, point the toes. There it is, right there. All right.
I'll do one.
One more for Shannon. One more for Shannon. We also got a host coming from Nigeria. Thank you so much. Opened a great stream. And we have Roth Core, huge 73-month sub in as well. Hell yes in the chat for Roth. That's what I'm talking about. Nigeria, awesome. Yeah, definitely follow along. All right. So once you guys have managed the facing away handstand, we're gonna flip it around. We're gonna do facing the wall handstand. If you wanna put some socks on here to not dirty up your wall, it's probably a good idea. I guess I'm just doing them without some socks. We're gonna kick up. Now, if you're just getting started, you'll probably wanna walk up the wall by doing a wall walk. Hands here, and walk up like this, here, and then walk back slowly. What we're gonna keep in mind here is all those same cues, all right? Your butt's gonna wanna do this. You wanna tuck the glutes, press the ground away, face the wall, all right? Slowly get off 1 foot, maybe get off both feet, and just practice. Elevate those shoulders, they're gonna wanna sink down. You're gonna begin to build scapular strength within the shoulder. Press the ground away. Tight core, tight glutes. Once again, the glutes are gonna wanna go like this. Glutes through, tight hips, tight core. Arms overhead, open shoulder, elevated shoulder. Just like that. And it might take some trial and error, it might take some practice.
Try to be mindful of where you fall too. So yeah, it might take some practice. You can only just go to here. That's great work already.
Yep.
Just to start to get familiar with what it's like to be upside down and hold yourself.
That's great. So you see how there's a perfectly straight line here between that wrist, through her shoulder, glutes, all the way to the toe. That's exactly what you're aiming for. And you just want to hold. If she can get 1 foot off the wall with a tucked hip, and then both feet off the wall, that's a perfect handstand right there. Try to press the ground away even more, like that. Get even a little bit straighter, that's great. So that's how you're gonna start to learn. This is the drill number 2 of how to learn a handstand. So once again, guys, 2 or 3 sets of this at least. We're gonna be kicking up against the wall. Depressed shoulder would look like this. Elevated, boom, would look like that. You want to elevate the shoulder. Point the toe. Straight line, hips through. 2-3 sets here. Let's keep it going. Shannon's up now. Walking up against that wall. Go slow if you need to. You're gonna be working on so many different things here. Stabilizers, core, glutes, lots to keep track of right when you're getting started here. Nice job, baby. All right, guys. So that's facing the wall and facing away. Now, if this is your first time doing it, you did the wrist warm-up, shoulder warm-up, you have all the alignment in your head and you're practicing against the wall, that might be a good place to end. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced or you want to start taking it to the next level, this is where we begin handstand kick-ups. With a handstand kick-up, we're off the wall, all right? We're out in the middle here, and all you're gonna do is go onto one foot here, put the hands on the ground, and start shifting the weight into the hands. What this might look like when you're just getting started is this, right? But as you become more comfortable upside down and shifting weight into those hands, okay? You can do the other leg back as well. Start kicking up, just like that. We're gonna be getting used to getting away from the wall on those kick-ups. We're gonna be putting the weight into the hands and keep all those cues in mind once you're upside down. Get that straight line. So Shannon's gonna go now, kicking up into those hands. Great. I would practice about 10 kick-ups at a time before resting. If you try to do 20, 30, 40, you're gonna be too tired to get that good form. So you can try maybe 5 or 10 kick-ups. Keep all those cues in mind. Rest a few minutes, and then try again. You can think about it as sets and reps. Nice job, baby. She's gonna wanna try to tuck those hips, press the ground away, just like that, maintain that alignment. That's great, baby. Just like that, perfectly straight. And you just keep practicing that, right? Take some rest, and then we'll get back into it. Once again, you can do a neutral stance hop too if you want, if you don't want to do the split stance. Okay. A lot of you might get started just kind of going like this. You can put the legs out. It will actually be easier to balance if you want to learn that way, or you can split. It's a lot easier to balance with a split leg. Like this, or like this, or like this, whatever you feel most comfortable like. It's gonna just be more and more time upside down to be more and more comfortable. So just like everything, 2 or 3 sets, a couple minute rest in between. Let's get upside down, let's get real comfortable. Bunch of kicks. Kick up. You can do little tuck hops like Shannon's doing there. Tuck the legs first and then extend if you want. You can do a split hop, a tuck hop. Play around with it. 5 or 10 reps here. Straight leg, split hop like Shannon's doing. Catching a split leg. Bring the legs up. Keep those cues in mind. Nice job. So we'll do that. I mean, you can do that as long as before you burn up, right? The shoulders are only gonna be able to take so much of that when you're first starting. 2 or 3 sets of that once or twice a week is gonna be good. But if you feel like, okay, I can do half an hour of that, I can maybe do five sets of that before I'm completely dead, go for it. But when you're just getting started, 2 or 3 sets is gonna be fantastic. Now, the last thing I wanna talk to you guys about before you just keep practicing is a cambered hand. Notice when I'm doing a handstand, my hand is not flat. Now, to balance with a flat hand would be It's just more difficult. It's like trying to balance on a completely flat foot, right? Think about if you're trying to balance on your foot and you're rocking forward, what do you do with the toes? Naturally, don't even think about it. What do you do with the toes if you're on one foot and you lean forward? You curl your toes. You curl your toes in so you don't lean forward, right? Oh, I'm gonna fall, I curl my toes. Oh, I'm gonna lean back. What do? You press the weight into your heels so you don't lean back, right? If someone pushes me backwards, the weight goes into my heels so I don't fall back. If someone pushes me forward, the weight goes into my toes. The weight goes into my heel. It's no different with your hands, guys. When you're upside down and you're leaning forward, what do? You curl in your fingers. Okay, you curl in your fingers just like you would curl in your toes and grip so you don't fall forward. Same thing with the hands. And then if you're falling back, you put the weight in the heels, you put the weight in the palm. Same exact thing. So when you're upside down and you're leaning forward, weight in the fingers, weight in the fingers, weight in the fingers. Grip the ground, grip the ground. When you're falling back, weight in the palms, weight in the palms. Falling back, palms, palms, palms. Falling forward, fingers, palms, fingers, palms, back and forth. You balance with the hand. That's how you get to more and more advanced hand balance, is by gripping with the fingers and the palms, okay? When you're upside down, your hand isn't completely flat. You kind of grip, think about gripping the ground. You grab the ground and then you balance, all right? So once again, you wanna go?
The Czar, the biggest.
We'll have Shannon go and just look at her fingers when she's upside down, gripping the ground. I'll spine. She's gonna kick up here, straight line, press the ground away. And now, if she's leaning over this way, fingers. She's leaning back this way, palms. Straight alignment, pressing the ground away. That's great. It's gonna take some practice to get used to being upside down, guys. Fingers and palms, just like toes and heels, right? And then after a while, it's gonna feel really nice to be upside down, right? It's gonna feel really nice. So just to show you guys from this angle, fingers, palms, gripping the floor, pressing the ground away, tuck tips, head between the shoulders, elevated shoulders. Same principles apply to that one-hander that I'm working on. And then we showed you this side angle. From the side angle, that same exact thing. Tucked loose, press the ground away, squeeze. Now from this angle, head through, grip the ground, tight core, hips through. It's going to be more difficult to poke the head all the way through like this. It's going to be a lot easier to look at the ground when you're getting started, how to keep the head tucked but look at the ground. But that, guys, is how you begin to learn a handstand. Wrist warm-up, shoulder warm-up, alignment, practice against the wall, practice hops. Keep the technique in mind with your hands, all the cues mentally with the hips, all right, the shoulders, and you practice, and you practice, and you practice.